This video is going to be a film study look at the Detroit Lions opening drive in their 24-14 win over the Packers on Sunday afternoon. This drive had it all from an offensive concept standpoint. Ben Johnson play calls, Jared Goff adjusting to a run concept on 3rd and 5, the Packers making their adjustment to that the next time they saw a third down, and then the ridiculous route conversion by Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's a design play. It's his 30th catch in a row on his 30th attempt. Lions fans know this. It seems like fan bases outside of the Lions don't have awareness of how ridiculous this is, that he's got 30 catches on his last 30 targets, 7 for 7 yesterday. I'm not sure what to call the route. Tom Brady made mention of it. He's like, I've never seen that route before. Call it a fade out, call it a fake China in fade, whatever it was insanity. All designed to go to St. Brown. That play capped a 13-play, 70-yard drive that was set up by Montgomery being used on body shots, gut punches, if you will, against the Packers defense. A big play action to Sam Laporta for 19 or 20 yards. Again, illustrating the fact that if you need him to line up at receiver, you can use him there because it's a legitimate route against an NFL starting caliber defensive back. I think what Goff and those guys did on that drive and the first drive of the third quarter is really reveal what they could do. And then thereafter got quite conservative, obviously, once going up 24-3. But this drive is fun to watch for me, at least, and I hope it's fun to watch for you from the standpoint of how I present the plays. So we will skip a handful here, to be honest with you. I love this kind of thing, a wind back, and what I mean by that is, that path people are going to refer to as a cutback. In my opinion, we call it wind back when it's designed, and it certainly is. Off screen, Raymond's going to be in motion, and he's going to run in motion and seal down to afford Montgomery the ability to cut this back. And you will get the all-22 angle, just so you know. But you can see Raymond coming down to seal the inside, and Montgomery's going to settle his feet and then bring this back off of it. A lot of conflict here created for this backside guy in terms of play action, and that's why this edge defender, who Sam Laporta is blocking, essentially a base block, that's why he's holding outside position, because he's wondering or worried if Jared Goff is going to boot off of it and bring it back to puts inside linebackers in conflict in terms of their reaction post-snap. Same play from the all-22 angle, and you'll see that it's a bunch set to one side. Montgomery on the midline with Goff under center. Going to start down here to the side where Rashawn Gary is matched up with Taylor Decker. And then once he gets the handoff, he's going to bring it back into the open space. You can see Raymond's helmet here. Credit to the Lions wide receivers. They block far better than most NFL wide receiver cores, if you ask me. And I think part of it is what they're asked to do. Essentially, it's a winnable situation that Raymond has been put in. He's not asked to take on an inside linebacker man-to-man. He's asked to get to one side to win half a man, not even half a man. We would call that quarter of a man because the inside linebacker is flowing in this direction. All you've got to do is front him up and not let him put his foot in the ground and redirect. Montgomery will do the rest, and he does. Like I said, 8 yards on the first play of the drive. I feel like that one set a tone after the Packers had gone for 14 plays and a field goal of their own on their first possession. Second play, Montgomery for 4, picks up the first down. Kind of a nasty tone being set against Rashawn Gary with this split zone designed to be a cut from Brock Wright. So Brock Wright's going to work across here, and he's going to cut Gary. I'm not going to give you both angles from each particular play, but you can see that Laporta initially stepped to Gary and then released to the inside to go get what ends up being the front side inside linebacker on this split zone concept. Montgomery takes it front side and it gets 4 yards to convert for the first down. 2 plays later, they've gone to 12 personnel, and it's a broken trips or broken bunch. So what I mean by that is the third part of the bunch set doesn't have his feet up here where all 3 of those guys can touch each other. And I find that teams normally do this because they want to run the football. They want that number 3 receiver or tight end, in this case Sam Laporta, to be able to block on a run concept. And sure enough, that was the case here. Again, I've skipped a play. This is 2nd and 9. It ends up being a zone concept to the bottom side of the screen. Laporta working to the inside, tries to get up to Quay Walker, and very similar to Khalif Raymond's. Great vision by Montgomery. Great job by the offensive line, obviously. Zeitler trying to take this D tackle where he wants to go. Glasgow, I think, is losing here, and I believe. So again, Laporta is attached to the formation. Off screen is the other two members of the bunch, hence the name Broken Bunch. We would just call it broken, so our key down. Because the way they're blocking it. Sewell is setting on, I think it's Van Ness, and then pulls his hands down and essentially knocks him down to the ground with his own momentum. And Laporta is inserting inside of that gap, and he's going to try to take Quay Walker this way. One cut off the defensive tackle that Glasgow was loose possession, where I think the Lions are really setting the tone that this is what we can do to you if we want to. 2 plays later, after a 5-yard completion to St. Brown, they're jumbo 13. So Laporta at receiver, Skipper at left tight end, and then Brock Wright at right tight end. You do have one actual receiver up to the top side of the screen, making it look like it's going to be run. Montgomery and Goff actually go to different sides on the run fake, and this is Laporta down here running a dig in, deeper in cut. This is all that Goff was focused on this particular play. I would like to see this more often. I don't know about you. I would like to see, whether it's jumbo 13, whatever the personnel grouping is, an opportunity to get Laporta out there in space and utilize his skills. Everything is so efficient now. Pretty much whatever Ben Johnson and Goff and those guys want to execute, they do. Nonetheless, I would like to see him a little bit more involved. This, to me, looks like a heavy alignment by the Packers defense. You do have a guy up here lined up over Brock Wright. Probably is a strong safety, so they may be in their base defensive look, in fact. Skipper was actually running a route there. I do give you the end zone angle. So off screen to our left is Laporta. You don't really see him. He's outside of that edge defender right here. Right here. This is number 45, the player I was referencing a moment ago. And we have confirmed now that is actually a strong safety type player who is matched up with Brock Wright. So they are in their base look against jumbo 13. No pass rush to speak of. Only receiver on the field was Raymond. He's running like corner post. You kind of see Raymond on the right-hand side of the screen. So the only thing I can think is there's a secondary portion of that route, in case the safety was to jump the deeper dig or in by Laporta, then Goff could potentially go up top. Huge gain, 19 yards, really softens them up. If you look at the collection of plays that they've run so far, Detroit was very run-focused from under center, and it was successful. The design element, the overriding element that I see in two of them is a design cutback. And to me, whenever things like that occur, I think the offensive coordinator and offensive staff are, I don't want to say making concessions, but I think they're looking at the other team's defense in a realistic manner and saying, we do not think we're just going to overwhelm them at the point of attack on direct flow run concepts. Someone over there, their defensive tackles, their edge defenders, inside linebackers are going to be difficult to deal with. Let's create designed windbacks for them to have to handle and navigate as the game goes on. And I think part of that is because the Packers' inside linebackers are such fast flow, such fast fill. So credit to Ben Johnson and those guys for having that installed. Those are some of my favorite run concepts, designed cutback stuff that's not off of split zone or kick out action on the backside. Hopefully I said that in a way that makes sense. We're going to move forward a little bit on the possession. We're actually going to skip 2 run plays, 3rd and 5. And so this just tells you the brilliance that you have with Goff pre-snap and how he can set things up, not just with what he recognizes and calls, but his body language as well. You have that same broken trips set here. The Packers, I believe, are playing man across the board. And they're running it back to the side away from those 3 receivers into the boundary with Montgomery. He goes for 9 yards. Yes, it's a great job by Zeitler to combo up to Cooper to the boundary, but also the Packers have done you a huge favor by taking this D tackle and stemming him in A gap. An absolute no-no, at least the way that I was brought up and trained to coach defense. If you already have an open gap, so B gap is the open gap, now you're going to create essentially two bubbles post snap, 2 open gaps, with no safety as a third-level support player. Those things, to me, at least the way that I was coached or told how to do things from a defensive coordinator standpoint, are an absolute no-no. If the Packers are allowing their defensive tackles to do those kind of things, that reflects negatively on their coaching staff, if you ask me. End zone angle, same place, so you get a little bit of a more clearer view of it. Open B gap because you've got a C gap player and an A gap player. That's the guy, 94, who's going to kind of pinch down, stunt across, puts the boundary side inside linebacker in a ton of conflict. I'm going to digress here for understand what actually is happening. I didn't see it, to be honest with you, when this occurred live. But because this D tackle is stunting across the face of Ragnow, there's nowhere for this guy to go. There are two gaps, one to the left of Zeitler, one to the right of Zeitler. By the way, that one's huge already just by alignment. And really nothing that Cooper could do that's going to prevent Montgomery from getting the line's critical. One, and number two, what happened in front of them that could have impacted their ability to make the play. For Montgomery, trying to read it. So you can see that Quay Walker is pressing to this gap, and Montgomery's going to try to set him up, hold him there, and then split back between here. He's being patient, so credit to Montgomery. He's trying to see what happens with those blocks. Zeit, pretty much no gain on the play. This was fun to watch live speed. Goff making checks. The Packers, they're giving a run hand signal, basically telling each other he's checked to a run play here. I'm not exactly sure what the concept is. It almost looks like they're trying to use Zeitler to kick out this edge defender here and run an off tackle. Essentially, I would call it down concept. Down means the tackle and tight end are going down, and then the frontside guard is pulling to kick out. Montgomery ends up bouncing it, though, and he's a very disciplined, smart running back. So if it's designed to go underneath of that kick out block by Zeitler, I don't know how to interpret this other than we didn't get a great down block here, and Montgomery is seeing the other team's jersey flash in front of his face, so he's bouncing it outside the kick out block, which is hardly ever going to work unless you're just playing against inferior talent level. In this case, it only goes for 2 yards. End zone angle, same play, just so you can see it. Pretty cool. The Packers are adjusting to Goff. They believe he has checked to a run play. I do wonder if the original call wasn't a run play in the first place. I don't see very much offensive line recognition like this. And so what I mean is, this looks like to me, this is not normal behavior by these guys when Goff checks to a run play. They don't make it this obvious. Offensive line, give it away like that pre-snap that they're making a big check. So we come to the final play of this drive, and I hope I can do it justice. This one was fun to watch live time. I was about a half an hour late getting to the Lions game, maybe 20, sick route and throw by Jared Goff. Back it up just a little bit so you can see where St. Brown catches it. So Goff has put it in a great location in terms of the moment when it arrives. But if you check out the route, I think that this builds off of a route they've utilized twice already in the red zone this year. So it's where St. Brown he's not on the left side, he's down at the bottom right now. St. Brown would start to run to the out and then bring it back to the inside. I would call it a China in. Some people call it a whip route, whatever. Who cares? They're building off of that because he's faking the China in and then bringing it back, and his body positioning makes it look like a fade as the ball is thrown. So what I say makes it look like a fade. It makes it look like a fade to the DB who's in coverage. So there you can see he stopped his feet like he's going to bring the route back to the inside, briefly hesitates, and because he's turned upfield, he's done a great job of selling this to that defensive back, such that the route might go to the back pylon or further up the sideline, closer to the back of the end zone. It's a 4th and 3. So this is high risk and high trust. Beautiful catch, great timing. Like I said, I think he's 30 for 30 at this point. I mistakenly thought it was 29. In this case, Goff and St. Brown. Ben Johnson in Goff. Trickle up, I guess, in terms of the way that the trust flows. Those guys trust each other on down the cycle, and they should at this point. St. Brown has been unstoppable lately, so has Goff. 81.8% completion percentage, I think, coming into the game. Already fun to watch because of how physical the offensive line was being, how much they had used Montgomery to basically set a tone and show the Packers, hey, we know you're jacked up to stop the run. And they've got some good players in their front six, front seven. But we're still going to do this because that's who we are. That's the one thing I really do enjoy about Dan Campbell's philosophy is that those guys know who they are from a collective standpoint, meaning the whole team roster, and they're committed to it pretty much no matter who they're playing. I think the Lions are a really bad matchup for most of the teams that come out of the AFC. We're talking months ahead of time and a lot to do and accomplish between now and then. The one team that I think matches up the best with the Lions and the Lions match up best with them in terms of a great game is obviously, you knew where I was going with this, the Baltimore Ravens. I look at the rest of the teams in the AFC and I think they're going to have a tremendous problem dealing with this Lions team, their run game, their physicality, and then their willingness to play man on defense and be physical. I hope that's the Super Bowl we get. It's easy to think about right now, a day after the Lions go into Green Bay and get a 24-14 win, and the Ravens overwhelm the Broncos, who had different metrics, a number one or top three defense in the NFL coming into Week 9. The Broncos had allowed 15 points per game, 15.1 maybe, and only 4.4 yards per play, and the Ravens thrashed them to the tune of, I think, 7.7. So on a day after that, it's very easy for me to openly state that that's what I've been hoping for last year. I think you guys knew that, even if I didn't put it out in video form. And for today, at least, and the ensuing couple of days before the Ravens play the Bengals in Week 7, to think about a Ravens-Lions matchup. When you see execution like this, on the road, in the rain, making that catch and that throw from Jared Goff, that is tremendous confidence that has been built in the last couple of years in each other and in the system, as well they should. If this isn't the number one offense in the league, it's the Ravens. If the Ravens' offense isn't the number one in the league, it's the Lions. Or maybe they can just hand it off between each other if they play at different times like they did yesterday and they will this week with the Ravens playing on Thursday. Crazy game to watch from the standpoint of Detroit's offense. I criticized some of the decisions in the second half in terms of the conservative nature of the offensive play calls, and I still stand by that. I think that they could have been a little bit more aggressive, try to possess the ball longer, and put the Packers in a situation where they had the ability to less run plays. What would that have also done? Given you, as a Lions fan, less to listen to from Green Bay fan bases, now talking about today how many yards they gained, how much more passing yards they gained, and first downs, and why they're the better team, even though they didn't show it on Sunday afternoon. This was a fun one for me to produce. If you enjoyed it, the film study portion of it, let me know in the comment section. If you do not like when I digress and talk about Lions versus Ravens months from now, feel free to let me know about that in the comment section as well. If you think other Lions fans would enjoy this film study video, this look at Detroit's first drive where they really did pretty much whatever they want, whenever they wanted against the Packers defense, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.